There's a great saying that characterizes it quite well, I think, and that is that you've got a world-beating idea, great, you're 10% of the way there. The way I like to measure success of this is the number of people employed in high-paid jobs. I don't see any reason why we can't be creating, over the next 5-10 years, creating another 10 Fisher & Paykel healthcares.
Hey guys, it's Charles and welcome to Good Clinical, a podcast and YouTube channel dedicated to showcasing the future of medicine and human health. Today is an introductory episode regarding our new partnership with Te Titoki Mataora, the MedTech Research Translator. Here to take us through all things Te Titoki Mataora, TTM, is Peter Hunter. Peter is the co-founder of the Consortium for Medical Device Technologies, CMDT, as well as the founding director of the Auckland Bioengineering Institute. Peter has been a key player in developing our broader medtech research ecosystem and commercialization ecosystem that we have right here in New Zealand. Welcome to the podcast, Peter. Can you provide us with a bit of a background as to the purpose, what Te Titoki Mataora is, the MedTech Research Translator, and the purpose of all your efforts that go on in this domain?
So the background goes back to when Siew and I founded CMDT, Consortium for Medical Device Technologies. And that was about 15 years ago, I think now. And we were both interested in medical technologies, but both interested in how you get basic science translated into real outcomes in healthcare. So we teamed up and we formed an organization that represented the whole country. So we had representatives from all the universities and Callaghan Innovation, so that all the researchers who are doing basic science across the tertiary sector would take advantage of the structures we were setting up to help with the translation into real outcomes from that research. So it starts with basic science, but you've got to do an awful lot to get the translation pipeline in place to be able to produce spin-out companies that then deliver on all sorts of things, both devices and services that can have an impact on healthcare. And out of that initial organization that Di and I set up, we launched a bid for a MedTech core, a Centre of Research Excellence, which we were successful with. And that was a group of, again, the 5 universities plus Callaghan that would then work together over the next, from 2016 through to 2021. We worked and really provided the base of a very collegial approach to research translation in the medtech space for the whole of New Zealand. What Di and I then did was to approach MB and say, we've got to keep the momentum going on the translation side. And MB came to the party, fantastically came to the party with this funding for Te Titoki Mataora. And the University of Auckland came to the party in terms of funding the networking side, which is the what we call this HTCP or Health Tech Capability Program. So the first one, which is about Research Acceleration Program, RAP, was about how do you make sure that the great ideas coming out of the university, research labs and medtech can progress to spin out companies and having an impact on the healthcare system. And the other one was about helping develop the networking and capability, skills development, all the other things you need to happen as part of a sector.
Yeah, absolutely. Because it's very easy to think, great ideas are valuable in and of themselves, but not really. They do need to be translated into real world products or services or something that can be tangible or used, given to a patient if we're talking about healthcare or health technologies. But that translation from idea or academic pursuit into a real world product or service, that is a Herculean effort, isn't it? And it really requires a well integrated and well knitted together network and ecosystem to make it happen, because it's not just a couple people working hard on an idea. It's the money, it's the IP protection, it's the expertise, it's the networks, it's more money, it's infrastructure, it's people. Gosh, it's it doesn't just come about without a lot of serious effort and care and diligence and deliberate approach.
Yes,
So,
and there's a great saying that characterizes it quite well, I think, and that is that that you've got a world-beating idea, great, you're 10% of the way there. It's about right.
Yeah, absolutely.
And so what the RAP program does under TTM, the Research Acceleration Program, is it has 3 stages. Stage 1 is a 20K, and it's really about getting collaborations going, ideation stage, and it's if you apply to that, it's got a 67% currently success rate in getting that 20K just to get you off the ground, which is way higher than any standard government grant funding agency. And then the second stage is about developing the concept, developing prototypes, establishing the efficacy with clinical side of things, and that's 80K. And then the third stage, each stage you've got to apply to show the success of your previous stage, but then third stage you're up to 100K, and that's where you're getting into the acceleration and spin out investment and all the rest. I think that so far we've put 5.1 million has gone into that program, and out of that has come now 31 million of subsequent investment from government or charitable agencies like the Wellcome Trust or venture capital. So there's a 6-to-1 ratio currently of for every dollar that's been invested from that TTM program, it's leveraged another $6 from business community to help advance those companies. And it's still very early days. In the days of the MedTech Core, we got up to 33. For every dollar invested from the government, we were getting $33 generated by subsequent investment in those successful spinouts. But that took, of course, 6 or 7 years to get to that level. So we're absolutely anticipating that the TTM will be doing the same. It's a sort of no-brainer, really, in terms of government investment, because it's giving such good outcomes in relation to the money spent at that early stage.
Yeah, that's remarkable. I mean, if I was hunting for a good investment and someone said, "Hey, you can get a 6-fold return," I would be jumping in guns blazing. That speaks to the success of the framework that you've established. So, how many projects get funding in any given year, Peter?
So it's been going for 2.5 years, and we've had, over that 2.5 years, we've had 128 proposals, of which 69 have been funded. And of those 69, there's currently 6 that are at stage 3. So that's reached the final funding stage. Remember, that's only after 2.5 years. So those 6 are now entering the growth phase of getting investment money in from various sources. But we've now got this pipeline of 69 potential companies in the pipeline. Yeah.
That's incredible. And I suppose the real purpose of this is the really early stage translation, getting it from the academic setting into something that is commercially palatable, or from you mentioned venture capital or other business interest. It's not to take it the next stage. It's really to get it ready and into a position. It's like the ideation's done, the prototyping is done. You've got some idea around how efficacious or its ultimate utility that you can then present to a partner.
You need a clinical demonstration of efficacy, and you're still very early on in the whole pipeline, because you've got, obviously, there's the whole market assessment, business expertise that you need to really develop and grow a company. And often the hardest bit is you get your $5 million initial investment and you grow to 5 to 10 people, but it's only the beginning. You've then got to plan how you get your series of investments in to grow to a $100 million company or a $1 billion company like Fisher & Paykel Healthcare. And that takes a long time, and it takes a lot of effort from a lot of different areas to achieve that success. But it's hugely important for New Zealand. I mean, it's an ideal area for New Zealand to be investing in and contributing both to the economy and to the health tech set, to the health of the nation. people's individual health as well as the economic outcomes. But it's from day one, you've got to think internationally. This is about creating world markets, not just New Zealand, but you've got to prove your efficacy within the New Zealand system. And New Zealand's a great country for doing that. We're small, well-connected, electronic healthcare. Everyone has a health identifier, and people talk to each other right across the system. And we've got good clinical trials programs. So it's a fantastic country for making a success of the whole MedTech process, I think. And it's got to become an important part of the New Zealand economy, along with other high-tech areas. But it's one really fast-growing aspect of the high-tech sector for New Zealand, I think.
So, Peter, what would be your grand aspiration for Te Titoki Mataora in the next 5-10 years? I mean, it's, would you say, 2.5 years old to date, great success, from the first investment from the government to now the second one. Where do you see this going in the next 5 to 10 years?
I mean, I see the way I like to measure success of this is the number of people employed in high-paid jobs in New Zealand as part of this sector. And I don't see any reason why we can't be creating, over the next 5-10 years, creating another 10 Fisher and Paykel Healthcares. I mean, that company has been a phenomenal success, well over $1 billion, hugely important for the New Zealand economy to have these companies that are capable of making New Zealand raising living standards by not being just dependent on agriculture. It's not going to remove our dependence on agriculture. We want to absolutely, because that's pretty high tech in many areas, but it's another string to our bow that we can improve our living standards through creating these companies as well as improving healthcare. So my measure is, how many $100 million or sub-billion-dollar companies can we create to just improve outcomes from basic science through to things that really benefit the New Zealand economy, as well as benefiting healthcare.
Yeah, no, I mean, that's so fantastic. I've often heard that New Zealand has been referred to historically as a housing market with an economy attached to it, and we want to definitely move away from that, don't we? We're not going to get wealthier just by trading houses between each other. We're going to get wealthier by having high-paying jobs, attracting more, capital, human or otherwise, to this country.
And the lovely thing about this area, from a point of view of young people wanting exciting careers, is that it combines the physics, maths, engineering sort of areas, the traditional STEM high-tech training that you need, together with biology and physiology. And so you're really bringing every challenge you have in the medtech space involves lots of different disciplines, and the social side as well, of course. You can't just develop technologies without thinking about how people are going to use them. So it's a really interesting area for bringing together lots of different skills that you need to deliver effective healthcare. So it's a great area for young people. So ABI has 120 odd PhD students, and they go into the spin-out companies that we produce. So there's great career paths for them. Most of them go into those companies. Some, of course, stay on as in academic roles or research roles within ABI. Some go overseas, but many of them are going into these companies. And to me, that's the real success of the whole thing, is building those companies.
Peter, this has been really, really great conversation. Thanks so much for your time. But if people want to find out more about yourself, TTM, MedTech Core, well, that's CMDT, where can they go?
Well, if you type CMDT into the browser, you should find it, or even Te Titoki Mataora. But there's a website, and in fact, there's a new website for TTM coming out, which we're launching next week as part of Health Tech Week, which is next week. And they'll quickly find the links to give insight into what's going on.
Excellent. Well, Peter, thank you so much. Really look forward to seeing the future of Te Titoki Mataora, the medtech ecosystem more broadly, and all the best. Thank you so much.
Okay, thanks very much.